Okay, thank you so much for joining me for today's 10-minute burst of innovation. This is all about transforming information into insights. And I want to start by sharing a personal story of something that happened to me that really highlighted this. I want to give you 2 questions that you can ask to actually elevate from information to insights, because as I'm going to talk about, that's where the value is. The value is not in the information. And then I actually want to end on a very surprising story of an organization, a group of people actually, who did that brilliantly now, like right now in the time that we're dealing with. So that's what I want to cover in today's 10-minute burst of innovation. So transforming information into insights. First of all, why does that even matter? Here's the thing. We are inundated with information, right? Data, knowledge, whatever it is. The value happens when you understand what to do with that information. And I think all too often we get trapped in information overload, in information presentation. And it doesn't take us to the place where we're actually providing that true value to ourselves and to the people around us, our leadership, our teams, our customers, our prospects. So let me share with you a personal story. And if you've got any, feel free to put them in the chat bar, because I think this will resonate with you. So a while back, I was hired by a team, and I were hired by a large consumer packaged goods company. And our job was to help them launch new products into the marketplace. So the customer needs had changed. So we need to figure out first, what are the new customer needs? Like, who are they even now? And then second, what products and services could this company deliver to meet those needs? So it was a long, like 8-month project. And after our first discovery, which basically our first market research, we went out and we talked to thousands of customers and ethnographies and focus groups and one-on-ones and store intercepts. We had pulled together the most beautifully done deck you've ever seen. It had the best images, it had the best videos, the data looked amazing. So we go to our clients, and their team, by the way, is comprised of some senior and some junior people. And that's important in a second. I'll explain why. And we go in and we're presenting this unbelievably gorgeous PowerPoint deck, right, with all this incredible data. And everybody's nodding along. And about halfway through, I realized something that made my heart sink a little bit. I realized this was beautiful, but what we were presenting was information. We were not presenting insights, and we were not being paid well into the 6 figures as a company on our side to be presenting information. And I could see it on the other side, right? Like the senior leaders are like, okay, and the junior people, frankly, were stuck where we were in information, and we're like, oh, this is great. Like, good job, right? Like, we had told them, we had cut the segments of the marketplace. We had told them what their customers' needs are. We had told them what behaviors they were engaging in and what products they were buying. That's all great, but we missed the mark in adding value. And I went home after that meeting super frustrated with myself for not realizing that before we got on the airplane. I let myself and I let the team down. I let my clients down. And I had a conversation with my head client, who was very senior and very smart. Everybody in the room was smart, actually. In all truth, this isn't about being smart. This is about understanding how to elevate and add value. And I had a conversation with him, and I just, hey, listen, how did you feel the presentation went? And he said, Tamara, I'm so glad I know all this information now. This is really great content. He said, but it's just that. It's information. I need insights. I need to know what to do with that information. And of course, I was right there with him. I was like, yep, got it. We're going to go retool our deck. We're going to do another virtual meeting, and I'm going to present the insights. The value that you can provide people, your leadership, your team, your customers, the marketplace, the value is in the insights, not the information. We have plenty of information. We have plenty of data. What we need to understand and what people want is what to do with that data. For just a moment, think about the people, whether they are thought leaders or personalities on TV, news anchors, whatever it is. Think about the people that you admire and pay attention to the most. Most of the time, they're people who pull the insights out of the information. I'll share quickly that I saw Thomas Friedman speak once. So he's an economist and did kind of foreign affairs for a long time. He writes a column in the New York Times. I walked out of his presentation blown away. Not because he shared with me the global numbers of population and, climate change and blah, blah, blah. Not that. It's because he made sense of all of it. He made me think about it in a way that I could do something with. That is insight. So information, right, is data, it's knowledge, it's research, it's the content. Insights, that's the patterns, the trends, the opportunities, and the decisions that emerge out of the information. So I want you to think about moving forward is how do you take all that information that you're dealing with right now, and how do you turn that into actual insights? That's where the value is. And I get why we get stuck in information. We get stuck because we're in information overload, right? We get stuck because the information is interesting. It can be presented in a very pretty way, but that's not where the value is. So the next time you're facing a lot of information, I want you to ask yourself a couple questions. This is the tool, the way to elevate. Because here's the thing. I know we're probably all nodding our heads and going, right, Tamara, of course, insights, right? Like what are the decisions, the actions, the insights coming out of this data? But the truth is, it's very easy for us to get stuck in information, right? We have information overload. We've got data coming us at all sides. And frankly, it takes a moment, a pause to stop and say, what is this information actually telling me? And that's actually my favorite question to ask myself and to ask the people on my team, anyone who's presenting to me, what is this information telling me? And in fact, I just had a conversation the other day with the amazing company that's doing my SEO, and they are absolutely brilliant. But they were presenting with me all the data, our dashboard basically of our numbers. And I said, that's great, but help me understand, what does this mean I need to do next? That's the answer I was looking for. That's the value that you can provide, right? They had gotten stuck in presenting me this beautiful dashboard of information. I want the value. Now, in times of uncertainty, in times of chaos like we're in now, providing that extra level insight makes you even more valuable than you were before. That is where you really shine. So what I want you to do is I want you to ask yourself, hey, what is this information telling me? Like the minute you get it all together, that's when I want you to stop and say, what is this telling me? Or what patterns and trends are emerging because of this? Or my favorite, what do I need to do because of what I'm seeing in front of me? What does the information tell me I need to actually do? What action do I need to take? I hope you're seeing the difference there. Put in the chat bar if you are, because I really want to drive this in. It sounds so simple, and in so many ways it is, but it is so important when you are thinking about driving value and innovation, and when you are thinking about shifting what you're doing next. Now, I'll tell you too, and I know we're all experiencing this, right? We have new data coming at us right now. In fact, I was just watching the news this morning, not sure that was a good idea. But they're coming up with all these new numbers and new data. And then I jumped in the shower, and in the shower, the only thing I was thinking about was, okay, I just saw the news. I just saw the new data. What does this mean I need to do with my business, right? What is this telling me? Good, Cheryl, I'm glad you did. Thank you. Great questions. If you have other questions, by the way, that can help all of us be better at bringing the insights and the value, please do put them in the chat bar. I want to close out. I want to show you an article, and I put the link to the article in the chat too. I also put some links to other resources like the Innovations Everybody's Business book, the link to these Zoom calls so you can share it with other people so we can all get stronger together. I think there's some other links in there too. But I put a link to this article because I want to show you this really quickly. Let me share my screen. Okay, hold on one second. Let me share. That's not what I want. Okay. This is a grocery store. I just learned this morning. This is a grocery store in Texas, H-E-B. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of it. I'd never heard of it before. But here's the interesting part, you guys. This is so fascinating to me. Did you know that this entire time, they have actually been tracking pandemics and viruses and whatever across the globe? Like they have a team of people who've been doing that for years. But here's the beauty. And I encourage you to read this article. Link is in the chat bar. They then said, oh my gosh, what is this data telling us? Well, it's telling us when this happens, we need to be prepared. Guess what? According to this article, they're the only grocery store not running out of toilet paper. They're the only grocery store that was appropriately stocked when all of this stuff came down. This to me, and I know I'm like lighting up a little bit, right? This to me is a great example of people who said, what's the data, right? Here's the data. The data is this is happening in this country. This is happening in this country. These viruses are happening. Our healthcare is doing this. But they took all that and they actually turned it into an insight, which is, and a decision, which is, hey, we need to rethink how we're stocking our shelves when we start to see these indicators. Oh my gosh, how amazing is that, right? Read the article. It's absolutely fantastic. Rachel, thank you for that note as well. You're right. People are feeling unstable. And you know, the beauty, not the beauty, that's the wrong way to say it. The reality is when people are feeling unstable, that's when we need decisions and insights the most. I don't know if you guys feel this way, but I feel overwhelmed when I watch the news, in particular, when I talk to people about their business. So please, this is the opportunity for you to shine, to show value and insight, and to help you and your team, your business, move forward by providing insights. That's what gets us out of that feeling that Rachel mentioned of overwhelm. It gets us out of that. All right, I can't believe we're always out of time. It drives me nuts. Okay, I am going to, Cheryl said she didn't see the link in the show notes, so let me just do this really quickly for you because I want to make sure you have it. Okay, I just put the link in, Cheryl. I would check out this article. Again, this is a brilliant example of turning information into insights. And I want you to do that same. Bring that value, bring that innovation, bring that ability to move yourself and everybody else forward. All right. I will see you Friday for our next one. Whew, so many of you. This is so exciting. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing. Once again, the awkward time. One day I'll get used to this.